Okay, welcome to this video cast that will be something I'm thinking about doing regularly. If it gets a good response, I might well do. And it will cover the events happening in the world and also some personal observations about what is happening and what can be done. One of the first things I wanted to argue is that people should wear masks. Now, I got some masks, let me just show you. I got some very simple masks, which a few weeks ago on the internet, and it's one of these typical sort of surgical masks. Now, you just slap it around your face like this. Now, the reason why it's useful to wear a mask is twofold. Two main reasons. One is the government was trying, because they know that the virus is spread via airborne means, so you sneeze or you cough and the tiny droplets will hang in the air for up to 20 minutes, depending on the particular type of environment. Obviously, if you're in the open air, there's less chance of you catching it in the same, you're not in an enclosed space, and so therefore it dissipates much more quickly. But it may land on something in the open air, and you might touch that thing, and then touch your eye on your nose and mouth. That's why all the obsession about hand washing and so on is perfectly valid. The madness of the British government's proposal or way of discussing about not using masks is that just to say, sing happy birthday and wash your hands and then don't touch your face, it's running against the whole of mammalian behavior for 100 million years. You can't, in days or weeks or even in centuries probably, rid human beings of the automatic instinct to touch your face, nose, mouth, and so on. So, and I understand that there are some mad advisors called Nudge or something like that, who've been telling the behavioural psychologists of the British government that that you can run a campaign to get people to stop touching their nose and their mouth. And apparently they can have some sort of some people have been discussing encouraging the idea that whenever anybody touches their face, that everyone goes, face! Like that. And that's somehow going to stop people from touching their face. Why don't you just wear a mask when you're out? So you cover your face, and then you're not going to touch your mouth or your nose. Even if you want to, you're not going to touch it because you're outside. Yeah? Touch your eye, you can be a bit more conscious about. Now, it's perfectly true that if you wear this, for example, in a supermarket, as I wore a few minutes ago when I went to my local Sainsbury's, not an advert, when I went to my local Sainsbury's, I felt really sorry for the security guard, for the staff there, everybody rushing through, nobody except me wearing a mask. And this is in Kensington and Chelsea and Ladbroke Grove, where we have the highest infection rate, it appears, in the whole of the country. And the official figures are, I've lost track now, but it was about 40 a couple of days ago. And the government was already saying, when the official figures for the national level was about 1,003, the government said, oh, actually there's 10,000. And when the figures reached 2,500, then they said, oh, actually it's 50,000. And this is a scandal. This really is a scandal that the government is playing with people by throwing out figures that are totally, well, they haven't made clear where they're coming from. The one figure is recorded testing and results, and the other figure, 50,000, is just pure speculative imagination. Otherwise, why don't they present at these press conferences? You see, they're trying to present, this is the most insipid thing about the way Johnson and Cummings are running this campaign of theirs. is this trying to present themselves as doing what the scientists say. We're driven by the science. It's like Boris Johnson injected himself with a bit of Greta Thunberg in order to come out with, in order to be believable. So he comes out and he goes, well, he's asked the question. He goes, well, what do you think about that, Mr. Whitty? What do you think? You know, questions that he should be answering. He pretends they're scientific questions. And then you've got people like Whitty. I mean, the guy is like something otherworldly. And he comes on telly all proud of himself for being in the set, in the elite. He's recognised. He's somebody. He's probably getting fan mail nowadays. And he will turn around and say things like, the behavioural science is saying. That's not science, that's marketing. That's like consultancy firms that market sales promotion campaigns to corporate entities to try and persuade people to buy, you know, medicine or drugs or hair cream or, you know, dog shampoo or, you know, whatever else it is. Those are the people being taken seriously as scientists, and that really is not in order. I mean, science is not about, you know, a bit of amateur psychology thrown in for the corporate marketing world, and that's what we're being told is science. That's perhaps the saddest thing, and this sort of the co-opted. And don't forget this: there's no doubt about it. The BBC, the main newspapers, Facebook, and Google are all operating under some sort of government wartime type constraints. And so where you think you're getting some true, I mean, it's farcical what they're asking anyway, but where you think you're getting some true information, you're not. You're getting basically a sort of filtered propaganda campaign to allow the government to try and stage their message. The problem is their message is always a couple of days or a couple of weeks late. I mean, you know, it's not, no one's asking now why the government abandoned the policy from the day before, or when they are asked, they're barely asked, or it's some sniping comment in something like The Guardian or something like that. But there are fundamental issues here. I mean, look, the tubes, for example. If you get in a tube and you don't have a mask on and you sneeze and you've got the disease, you'll spread it to, or you're likely to spread it to others. In an enclosed space like that with lots and lots of people around, that can also hang in the air. So you could have like one station, someone gets on, sneezes, the whole of that carriage in theory could become, could become infected. The consequence of that, what that is, and you get off the next stop, you know. And had you worn a mask, you wouldn't have given that to people. So it is important also to think, I might have it. I might not even know I have it, particularly for young people. And therefore I should not be blasé about what I'm, you know, oh, I'm not gonna die. Yeah, but other people are gonna die. And you don't want them, you know, because of your sloppiness or because you listen to the government, you don't want to give it to someone else. And if you don't have a mask, I mean, the mask will no doubt be in short supply, then, you know, put a piece of cloth around your face, you know, everyone becomes Muslim woman for a few weeks, you know, just cover with something, with a, you know, a scarf or something of that nature, whenever you enter into a space which is enclosed and there are large numbers of people. And that should have been the advice from the beginning. And I'm pretty sure you'll find that's one of the reasons why the spread of the virus was contained in China. I'll come back to China in the next video, where I'll talk more detail about what actual measures they took, what the consequences that was for society, and how the far right, particularly Steve Bannon and his allies, tried to use the outbreak of the virus in China as a staging post to try and overthrow the government, try and organize a coup d'etat, like they did in Venezuela and like they did in Bolivia last year. But as far as I can see, I mean, you know, their attempts to overthrow the Chinese government have completely and absolutely failed. But anyway, these are much wider questions, and I'll come on to them in the next video.